Got to get something big here. What else? The hook and the ladder. Watch the block from TP. And the JMO speed. Ben Johnson masterclass in full effect yet again. Lions get their revenge in San Francisco and a little bit more in a tune-up for what will be the best matchup in the 2024 season in Week 18. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. The Lions get a victory in Week 17, 40-34 over the San Francisco 49ers. There were 0 punts in this game. It was an offensive slugfest. The Lions offense obviously holding up their end of the bargain against the 49ers offense, who gave their best attempt to hold in there with the Lions. The defense for the Lions really didn't have much in the first half and for much of the third quarter. However, Kirby Joseph came to the rescue with 2 interceptions on the day and was able to get enough out of the defense to wrap this thing up in San Francisco. Again, the Lions win 40-34. They are 14-2, 8-0 on the road, and have now set themselves up for what will be a winner-take-all for the NFC North and the NFC's first seed against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 18. Now let's quickly buzz through the team stats here, and it was, again, an offensive showcase here. Huge yardage put up by both teams. San Francisco really had the edge in a lot of these statistics, but ultimately both offenses were on high octane here in Week 17. Neither punter had to see the field. So you have first downs, 29 for the San Francisco 49ers to the Lions, 23. Third down efficiency, both teams very good. 9 of 14 for the Lions, 5 of 8 for the San Francisco 49ers. The Lions had to go for it a little bit more on fourth down. Of course, we know that's Dan Campbell and the Lions' MO. But with the depleted defense and seeing the fact that the Lions could not stop the San Francisco 49ers, it really put their offense in a position where they had to go for it. So they were 2 for 3 on the day. Total yardage, here you see it, 439 for the Lions to 475 for the San Francisco 49ers. These teams were all up and down the field here today. Yards per play, 7.9, so the edge to San Francisco over the 6.4 for the Lions. Brock Purdy had a great day. I think his career high. I think they said 377 yards at one point. I don't know if that's where he finished. Obviously, he was replaced by Daubs at the end of the game. 400 yards total to the Lions, 287. Yards per pass, 9.5 for San Francisco to 8.0 for the Lions. Both quarterbacks were sacked twice in the game. The Lions, I thought, ran the football better, obviously reflected here in this rushing number. 152 rush yards for the Lions to 75 only for the San Francisco 49ers. However, yards per rush, not a huge discrepancy there. Red zone, both teams really efficient. Lions did go for it the one time on fourth down in the red zone and did not convert. Otherwise, they were also very efficient in the red zone. Ultimately, this game came down to this right here. It's the turnovers. If Brock Purdy doesn't make those 2 throwing mistakes, and there might be a little bit more to it, if Kirby Joseph doesn't come up with those 2 interceptions, this may be a different outcome. That's the way the Lions were able to flip the field, get their offense back on the field, and convert to finally take a lead in the second half, and they were able to hold on for this victory, 40-34. Now let's also work through the box score here quickly. Let's focus first on the quarterbacks. Like we said with San Francisco's side, it's an unfortunate looks like it could be an elbow or a wrist injury to Brock Purdy at the end of the game here, but he finished 27-35. There it is, 377, 2 interceptions. Unfortunately, it was 3 touchdowns, and that was really the difference in this game here. Outside of those 2 throws, I thought he was really good. He controlled the game outside of those 2 mistakes. Jared Goff, Mr. Efficient, and continued it here in Week 17, 26-34, 303, 3 scores, no interceptions. And again, in full control really when he was on the field, and that Lions offense is humming. Looking at the rushing yards here, Isaac Guerrero, again, they're kind of depleted running back-wise, but he had only 9 carries for 34 yards. Debo was only really involved early on in the game, 3 for 16. They did have the rushing touchdown on the ground with Brock Purdy, and Joshua Dobbs also added the touchdown at the end of the game. So both quarterbacks got involved on the ground here with rushing touchdowns. On the Lions side of things, Jahmyr Gibbs, fantastic again. Without David Montgomery, he is their sole back. He got a little bit more in his backups today, but Jahmyr Gibbs himself, 18 carries, 117 yards, had the touchdown, really capped this game here. At the end with that long touchdown there, which separated it and put this game out of reach. Craig Reynolds, Jamar Jefferson, I thought filled in admirably. Craig Reynolds, I thought was good. 7 carries for 31 yards. Overall, 152 yards on the ground. That's how the Lions are able to control the clock and ultimately kind of bleed out the remainder of the fourth quarter and cap it with that Gibbs touchdown. Now looking at the receiving statistics, I thought San Francisco's receiving weapons were really good today, highlighted by Ricky Pearsall. What a great day for him. 8 receptions, 141 yards, made acrobatic catches, big catches, had the touchdown, the 40-yard long, all over the field today, and was a lot of trouble for the Lions secondary. George Kittle, who we knew was going to be an X factor in this game, 8 receptions, 112. Another good day for him. Juwan Jennings, 7 for 67, and Isaac Rendell, the running back, had 4 for 65. On the Lions, again, Jamison Williams, another big day, had the rushing touchdown, had 5 receptions, 77 yards, and the receiving touchdown as well. The 41-yard long, Sam Laporta, good to see him back involved again. 6 receptions, 64 yards, had the touchdown on a great throw from Jared Goff. Amon-Ra St. Brown, again, fantastic. 8 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown as well. Jahmyr Gibbs was involved, 4 receptions, 46 yards. Craig Reynolds as well, I thought had 2 big receptions for 35 yards. And guess what? We had an Allen Robinson sighting today, a big reception for 21 yards. I thought the Lions receivers were good in this matchup against San Francisco. And then defensively for San Francisco, Lenoir led the way in tackles with 9. But, of course, you got to talk about Nick Bosa, who I think played through some injuries here and had the kind of scary neck concussion scare there. He was able to come back, no problem, but he had 8 tackles and 2 sacks, and he's always a menace and was again today. D. Winters, 8 tackles, as well as Isaac Wyndham with 7 tackles. On the Lions side of things, I thought Jack Campbell was really good. He does the best job he can with the depleted linebacking crew. You had Jalen Reeves maybe come back, but I thought he was kind of slow today. So, again, you had to rely on Jack Campbell, and he led the charge with 9 tackles. Brian Branch did have the sack, also had 7 tackles. Terrion Arnold, 6 tackles. Kirby Joseph, 6 tackles on top of his 2 interceptions today. So, again, I thought the Lions defense at times, got plays from their playmakers, but was really bad early on in this game. Could not get a stop for the first half. And it was really scary there for a point, almost comical to the point where the San Francisco 49ers could do anything they wanted. So it is something we'll talk about down the road. But again, they were able to get the plays they needed to get this victory in San Francisco. As far as special teams, I thought you got more returns in this game than I've seen all season long. Tom Kennedy, 3 returns, 86 yards, 34-yard long. Got a lot of Deebo Samuel on returns, 4 returns, 128, and a 37-yard long. And the kicking, here's another factor in this game. Jake Bates was 2 for 2 on his actual field goal attempts and had the 57-yard long, which looked like no problem for him. However, he did have the 2 missed extra points. Obviously, the first one was blocked, not his fault. The second one, I think, was his fault. It didn't look like anything wrong with the snap or the hold, and I think he just missed it. So that's something you got to correct for next week as well as heading into the playoffs. On San Francisco's side of things, Jake Moody, you just got to feel bad for the guy. He's got the kicking yips, as they call it. You really just couldn't get anything going. He was 4 or 5 on his extra points, had the miss, but 0 for 2 on his field goal attempts, and then also had the very poor onside kick attempt. A bad day at the office for Jake Moody. Now let's give out some game balls for this Week 17 victory for the Lions in San Francisco. And let's start at the top with the quarterback on offense, Mr. Jared Goff, Mr. Efficiency again, 26 of 34. 303, 3 touchdowns. Another fantastic day for a guy that's just been in control here since that 5-interception victory in Houston. I mean, really has been MVP-like here and has continued that in Week 17. So he certainly gets a game ball today. I think Jahmyr Gibbs certainly deserves a game ball, and he's been fantastic for the Lions since David Montgomery's absence. He again is over 100 yards. This one was 18 for 117 yards, a 6.5-yard average, and had the big touchdown to cap this off. So he certainly gets a game ball from me. As far as the wide receivers, Jamison Williams, again, he is a factor for this Lions offense. Has the 2 touchdowns, 1 rush in the football, 1 through the air, 5 receptions, 77 yards. And again, it's just been really, really good. Sure-handed even, is able to pick up first downs when you need them. He's been really good for the Lions lately. You got to give him a lot of credit. Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown also should get game balls today. They each had touchdowns for the Lions. And then defensively, I do have some game balls as well. As bad as it looked in the first half, I thought you had plays that were made in the second half. So Jack Campbell, I think, deserves a game ball. He's able to make something out of that linebacking crew and really was all over the field. Big hits. He's able to stuff the run. 9 tackles today, so he certainly deserves one. I thought Brian Branch, again, able to show a little bit more of his playmaking ability today. Obviously, he has the safety partner, which we'll talk about here in a second, and they're a little bit depleted on the cornerback end, so they're asking a lot of him, and I thought he came up big today in spots. Yes, he had the bad penalty, and that's something they got to get rid of, but again, he was able to get the sack, and those are hard to come by for the Lions. So that on top of everything else, I think Brian Branch deserves a game ball. But I think overall, the MVP for the Lions here in Week 17, surprisingly, even with the terrible defensive performance in the first half, the reason the Lions win this football game is, of course, their offense, Jared Goff, that efficiency, Jahmyr Gibbs. But I think if you don't get the playmaking from Kirby Joseph, I think this might be a different outcome. The Lions defense in the first half could not stop San Francisco. It was really, I'll say it again, comical. San Francisco was able to do anything they wanted. Brock Purdy was showing the magic that he had back in that NFC Championship game, and things just look like they may go off kilter here, especially after that failed fourth down conversion for the Lions offense. Well, in comes Kirby Joseph to the rescue, not only with 1 interception, but 2. Now, you could argue they were tough throws from Brock Purdy, but Kirby's always on the spot. I believe he has 9 interceptions now. That should lead the league. I don't have that stat in front of me. But again, without that, I don't think the Lions win this football game. So to me, he is certainly deserving of 2 game balls and the overall MVP here for Week 17. So the Lions do survive a scare. They go into San Francisco and revenge the loss from the NFC Championship game. Certainly came with a fight from San Francisco. Lions were able to hold them off on an offensive surge in that first half. They were able to get some plays made in the second half to really cap this off. They end up winning this football game 40-34. Lions go to 14-2. They'll now move themselves back into overall first in the NFC. Kind of flip-flopping with Minnesota now that they've had their Week 17 game. And it does set up the ultimate matchup for all of the marbles next week in Week 18. For the NFC North as well as the NFC's first seed, it'll be the Detroit Lions versus the Minnesota Vikings. What a fantastic week ahead it should be. What do you guys think about this matchup against the 49ers? Lions look to come out healthy, and I think that was the biggest thing. Yes, they got the victory. They got the revenge they were looking for, but they came out healthy, and they get the dub. A little bit of gravy. So what did you guys think? And also, what do you guys think of the upcoming matchup with Minnesota? Do the Lions have enough firepower on offense to hang in there? Can the Brian Flores defense hold this Lions offense down? And ultimately, can the Lions defense get enough plays to hang in there with Minnesota? Should be a great matchup in Week 18. Come back and see me. We'll have a highlights reaction. We'll do our 3 key plays and the grades from this matchup for the 49ers. We'll get into our game preview with Minnesota. A ton of fun stuff coming up. Make sure to hit that like button if you dig the vibe here at Johnny Gas Sports. I'd love it if you consider subscribing if you haven't already. We're on the road to 3,000 now, thanks to you guys. And if you hit the notify bell, you won't miss any future videos. I have a membership option. That's where I do all my live game play-by-plays, my ladder series, a ton of other fun stuff, but there's always free content here for you all the time. More than anything else, take care of yourself and that mental health. That is more important than anything else. I want to make sure you come back and see me on future videos. Thank you guys so much. Have a fantastic New Year's. Go Lions.